Okay, welcome everybody back to Steve Talks Boxing X, STBX. And this week we are going to be talking about this fight, which is this weekend, which is Vasiliy Lomachenko versus George Kambosos Jr. for the vacant IBF lightweight world title, which is also live on Sky Sports. And I'm pleased to say joining me this week is Tom Bourke. Thanks, Tom. Thanks for coming back on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me back, Steve.
No, it's great.
Yeah.
Great to have you on again. So,
yeah, look forward to it.
Appreciate it. First question to you, Tom. Going to hit you with it straight away. Tom, are you a Loma fan, or is that a silly question, really?
Yeah, you've started on a silly question, to be honest, Steve. I struggle to see how you can be a boxing fan and not just appreciate Vasiliy Lomachenko. Just an absolute amazing fighter, you know, one of the best amateur records that there's ever been, right up there. And the way he attacked the professional ranks, I think the first time I watched him was on the Floyd Mayweather-Manny Pacquiao undercard, which weren't a great fight for him on there. He was defending his WBO featherweight title, I think. But it was just like just watching this guy, and he kind of stole the show a bit, because obviously Manny Pacquiao versus Mayweather was, you know,
big. Yeah, I was going to say that was a massive fight, wasn't it? As a
it was, but obviously it didn't really live up to the standards that we wanted it to. But at least we got a good look at Lomachenko, and that run that he went on, I think it started in late 2015 when he fought Rocky Martinez and just absolutely schooled him before destroying him. And when he fought that run from 2016, so 2015 and then into 2016 all the way to 2019, where he just went on a run and he was, you know, just annihilating fighters like Nicholas Walters, Rigondo, in fights that were supposed to be sort of competitive, and he just took them to school and made them quit. Them quit out of. No, you weren't just beating him up; he was humiliating them. He was embarrassing top quality fighters.
So what you're saying, Tom? Then you can't be into boxing if you're not a Lomachenko fan. Then
essentially, yeah. I mean, like us as boxing fans, we've just seen all the stuff about Ryan Garcia. You know, a drug test, and boxing's brilliant at this. It builds itself up and then really does bring itself down. But whenever you are disillusioned by the sport, just go on YouTube and type in Lomachenko highlights, and you fall back in love with it pretty quickly. He's a phenomenal fighter.
Yeah, I must admit, I still do that now, and I still look at the old Roy Jones Jr. Clips on YouTube as well. Yeah. If you need cheering up again and just see something guys perform, you know, it does, like I said, it brings your faith back to boxing, doesn't it? Seeing them guys.
Absolutely.
With regards to this fight, it's a good fight. Are you staying up for this fight? Getting up for this fight, Tom? I think it's 4 o'clock I think they're saying in Australia. So
yeah,
they're not much different from Vegas, really. So
no, not really. I feel like I'd be a bit of a fraud if I said all that I've just said and then say I'll probably watch it on Sunday. That's what I might end up doing. I don't think I'll stay up. I might set an alarm, watch it, or just catch it first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
For fights, like for staying up for me at this point in my age, etc., has to be a real fight that captures the imagination, real 50-50.
Yeah.
And I'll explain myself as to why I don't think this is later. But you know, will I watch it? Absolutely, yeah. You want to watch Lomachenko as much as you can, and you know, at the age he is, we've not got much of him left.
You got to enjoy it. Yeah, I was going to say that you saying about your age. With me, I'm quite happy to watch it in the morning with a cup of coffee, you know, fully awake rather than half asleep 4 o'clock in the morning and not really getting
enjoying it
on. Really, I
you're right.
Enjoy it more.
You're right.
Maybe, like I said, maybe if it was a super fight, then maybe for that occasion. But yeah, I'll probably go with you on that as well. So going back to the fight itself, and I want to talk about this. Did Loma really lose that fight against Haney, in your opinion, in the first place?
Yeah, so I watched this one back today to get a little, because obviously, you know, it's essentially correct in saying that's
a lot of controversy, wasn't there?
Lomachenko's last fight. Correct. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
I did. So I scored it today, rewatching it, and I had Loma win by only 1 round.
Oh wow!
So
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of rounds in there that were really close. And what I did pick up this time, obviously watching it on because I think it was on Sky because it was a top ranked deal. So we got the American commentators.
Yeah.
With that crowd in there, it was a very much pro Loma crowd.
Yeah.
Haney, if you remember, Haney had pushed Lomachenko at the weigh-in, and he kind of built up a bit of the villain role in that, and that was obvious, like during the fight and in the build-up, as they came out, like it was a pro Loma crowd, and I think that, and the commentators kind of went on that to an extent, and this is the case with Loma. When Loma does good work, it's very visible.
Yeah,
it's very eye-catching for the judges.
Eye-catching, yeah.
Whilst Haney's were a bit messier, but I found that there were times, the rounds where Haney was winning was when he was working the body quite well, which is not something you see him do or what you really see anyone against Lomachenko do. But he was having success doing it. That being said, there were a lot of scrappy rounds, and I did still give it to Lomachenko by a very close margin.
Yeah, that's interesting. Did you think, I know I'm going to go back and touch on that subject with the sort of biased commentary. So sometimes I watch fights and then maybe re-watch without turn the commentary off as well. So just to, you do get that sometimes, don't you? You do get opinionated, by the commentary. You get a biased decision, don't you, really? So...
Yeah, but obviously it's a case of me rewatching it today. Obviously, you already know what's happened. You know that it's controversial.
Yeah.
What I will say is there were, I can't remember the exact scorecards, but there would have been a tight split decision, maybe by 1 round, etc. People might have been a bit more like, well, I scored it to Loma, but it was close.
It was close.
It was the fact that some of the cards were wide that makes it look more of a stinker. That's where the controversy came for me.
Yeah. Yeah,
but sure. I did think Loma won though. So
yeah, that's interesting. A lot of people did as well, didn't they? Really. So on that fight, on the back end of that fight, come to think of it, Kambosos, did he really beat Maxi Hughes though?
Well, that I said Loma and Haney were close. What wasn't close was Kambosos versus Maxi Hughes. That was an absolute stinker. I just felt really sorry for Maxi after that. No, I mean, I rewatched that today. I gave that a score.
Yeah, okay.
I had Hughes winning by 3 rounds, and that was, to be fair, still quite generous. There were some rounds that I gave to Kambosos, which were a little bit close, but there was without doubt that Maxi Hughes won that fight. And that's essentially where we're at now, because really, that was for the IBO title, but, I think might have been an eliminator as well for the IBF. Kambosos wins that fight, and now he's fighting Lomachenko on home ground.
I know, could have been Maxi, couldn't it? Quite easy.
Maxi had to go and fight an eliminator against a really dangerous up-and-coming fighter in Zepeda, and got knocked out. So it was it really stunk. That it was not good, and I think deep down George Kambosos knew he didn't win. He said he did win afterwards, but you can see it when. You could see it afterwards in the post-fight. He had to say that. So
yeah. I know we're going to touch on this on the later questions, but obviously Maxi was fighting away from home. Is that a factor? I know we're going to go about this factor as well with Loma fighting away. Do you think that was a factor in the fight?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, it's one of them. Like Kambosos was technically away as well, but he has based himself out in America. It was on his product. It was the first fight under Top Rank. There was actually a bit in the commentary today while I was rewatching it, and one of the commentators said Moretti and Ludabello, the co-promoters for Kambosos, they were in the crowd, and the look on their face was very nervous. I think it was the 5th round where Maxi caught Kambosos and buzzed him, and a bit like, what have we done here? Why have we brought this guy over?
Yeah, it says it all, doesn't it? Really, when you see them worried in the crowd. Both of them have a common opponent. A common loss in the loss to Haney. But obviously, Teo Lopez in the fight with Loma, he lost, and Kambosos won. Can we read anything into that at all?
Can we really read anything into Teo Lopez? You know,
I don't know, probably not. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, without being cliche, but you know, the old saying, styles make fights. And there's also context with that. Like Kambosos beat Teo as a massive underdog. And we've seen Teo Lopez, he does underestimate fights. He blows so hot and cold when he's fighting the top, and he's got that little fear factor in him, like he did against Lomachenko and Josh Taylor. He really turns it on, and he's a really good fighter to watch. You then watch him against someone like he did against Kambosos, like he did against Sandor Martin, Ortiz in his last fight. You know, he doesn't even look like the same fighter.
No.
And then, like I say, you got the Lomachenko thing. There's Teo was in a way all wrong for Lomachenko. He used his size well. I don't think we can look into it too much, to be honest. They're two very different, came at different times, complete different context, and very different styles.
Yeah. I tend to agree. They're totally different fights there. We was talking a bit about the home crowd advantage, and this is actually the RAC arena where the fight's at. It's quite a funky arena they've got there. Yeah. What difference will the home crowd, the Australian home crowd behind Kambosos, what would that make?
Well, to be fair, I was having a look at this venue myself, and it looks class. I mean, I think it holds
it's nice.
15,500. I don't know what they're going to do, because I think they use it for basketball and tennis. I think it's got a retractable roof. So I don't know if they're going to close the roof or not. I know they like to keep it open air with Aussie fights sometimes. It could be a good atmosphere, but do I think it's going to make a difference? Essentially, no, because it was the same thing when Kambosos fought Haney, and it didn't really matter there, did it? Haney took him to school in Australia, so I'm hoping it's a good atmosphere, but I don't think it's going to make a big difference.
Yeah, do you think, I was going to say, do you think it's going to be, obviously a pro Kambosos, but you anticipate much cheers for Lomachenko? Is there going to be boxing purists there coming along? Because when Lomachenko fought Luke Campbell in the UK at the O2, I went along to see Lomachenko fight. I didn't went to see Luke Campbell. Do you think you're going to get that in Australia? Do you think?
Maybe. A similar example I had to what you just said there when Kell Brook fought Gennady Golovkin.
You went to see Triple J.
Well, no, I'm from Sheffield. I'm a big Kell Brook fan, but he was fighting my favourite fighter essentially in Gennady Golovkin. So I was in Dreamland, and there was a similar instance where, like, obviously everyone would. Well, he did actually have some fans, Gennady Golovkin. Some Kazakh fans were there, but the crowd is pro Kell Brook, but they also respect and they are fans of Gennady Golovkin.
Yeah,
so you get a bit of
the boxer. Yeah,
they appreciate both. They appreciate, and so there might be a little element of that. But the Aussies are quite passionate. They support their own. So I do think more often than not, it's going to be a pro Kambosos crowd, and he's going to need it.
Yeah, he's going to. Yeah, I think he may need that crowd behind him. Loma is now 36. He's getting on a bit now. What has he got left to offer? What do you think?
Well, going off his last fight against Haney, still quite a lot. I mean, I know that was a bit ago now. This lightweight version of Lomachenko, and especially being the age he is, what I noticed when I rewatched him against Haney is he's not as, I wouldn't say, it's not that he's not nimble on his feet anymore, but he doesn't move in and out as much. He stands in the pocket a lot more, and he holds his feet. If you, like I say, if we talk about our YouTube reels of watching Lomachenko, he's skipping in and out of range. He's changing the angles from side to side. He's going, 1 minute he's here, he then pivots and he's at a completely different angle, and he's hit you with a hook. Yeah, you're not seeing that as much now with Lomachenko as a lightweight at this age. He's a bit more upright.
Yeah, you think he's slowing down a bit then?
I think so. And, to be fair, he's 36. And so that's absolutely natural. It's absolutely fine. Especially the kind of fighter he is. He's very much he's a nimble guy. His footwork is amazing. It's incredible.
Mhm.
He relies on his reflexes a lot. And those kind of guys, you do notice it when they get older. They can't move like they
Move as
did.
much. Yeah. Mhm.
So it's absolutely natural, and you'd expect him to adapt. Same but different. A bit like how Floyd Money Mayweather.
Mhm.
You've got the pretty boy Floyd and Money Mayweather, two different fighters. It was adapting. I'm not saying it's quite as obvious here, but there is. You can see that in his last few fights, he has been fighting differently.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what he does against Kambosos in terms of that. The other factor we've got to take in consideration is Loma has been pretty inactive since that loss to Haney. That was May 23. He's been out the ring for a year. Will that be a factor in the fight, do you think?
Potentially. Like I say, I don't think it's ideal for anyone to, be out the ring for essentially a year. So, but at the same time, Loma being as good as he is, and he's quite a disciplined athlete, I'm sure he'll have been working in the gym, and because he's so good, there might be a little bit of ring rust early on, but I think he'll shake it off. This is what he does.
Yeah. So, just the professional through and through.
Exactly. I mean, when was the Kambosos Maxi Hughes fight? Because that was a bit ago as well. To be fair.
I was gonna say that was
not either of them are like massively active in a minute.
Yeah.
There's that element too.
Sure. Fighting stances. Kambosos orthodox. Loma's a southpaw. How much do you think impact will this have on the fight?
Absolutely massive. I mean, looking at Kambosos' last fight against southpaw was Maxi Hughes. And he looked like he'd never seen one before. I mean, they said on the commentary actually that Maxi Hughes was the first southpaw that Kambosos faced a professional. I did a little check through BoxRec, and I think he did actually face one really early on in his career. But very early, not to the levels that we're talking here. And, Kambosos really struggled to get anything of note off. He was not throwing the jab. He barely threw the right hand. He just couldn't get set against Maxi. And when he did, Maxi, effectively he had his right foot on the outside, which is obviously what southpaws always try and do against the orthodox. Just a little half step back, and he'd just catch him on the way in with like the left uppercut was working well when Kambosos were leaning in, the left hand as well. And like I said, Maxi Hughes is a very skilled operator. He's a good fighter and he was going through a great run of form at the time. But he's no Lomachenko. I mean, he's...
So you're thinking alarm bells already, just because of Loma's a southpaw?
Pretty much. I mean, what we've seen with Kambosos, and, Kambosos is a solid guy. He's a good operator. But what does he struggle with from what we've seen in his defeats? He struggles with movement, which is what Haney gave him. He couldn't work him out at all. And he struggles with southpaws. What is Lomachenko? Like, I know I said earlier he moves a bit less than he used to. He moves less than he used to.
Yeah.
But he still moves about and he's still a slick operator. I just think that's an absolute nightmare situation for Kambosos.
Sure.
Sure.
We're nearly at the predictions start part of the question, really. But I just wanted to see, how do you see the fight going in general? Then hit me with your prediction, Tom.
Yeah, so probably might take Lomachenko a couple of rounds to, get. He likes to have a look sometimes. He did surprisingly start very quick against Haney.
Yeah.
And that was a bit of a surprise, but I think that's just because he got a bit of an early success. So he thought, right, I'll build on it. Based on what I think Kambosos will come forward, probably, the crowd behind him, he'll have a go. If I'm him, I'd be targeting the body.
Yeah.
Because he's not bad going downstairs, and what he was doing against Maxi Hughes was headhunting.
Yeah.
And because he was moving his head off the line and moving out of range and then moving to his right, he barely landed his right hand or his jab on Maxi Hughes' head. And like Haney did against Lomachenko, Just try and target the body, see if you can slow him down a bit.
Slow him down. Yeah. If you were
with the
talking
lateral
about,
movement, the head's always moving. The body doesn't that often.
Yeah.
So I'd be looking to
especially
target that.
if you're saying Loma's maybe potentially slowing down in that sort of movement department, make him even more slower, hit him to the body. So
yeah. To answer your question though, Steve, like I say, because I've started trying to suggest how Kambosos can make it a good fight. I think it'll be similar in the sense of the Maxi Hughes fight, where he really struggles to deal with him. And Lomachenko, I'm not saying it's going to be vintage Lomachenko. It's not going to be the best you ever see, but I think he's going to take him to school. The left hand's going to be big. He lands when he's at that mid range, and he lands it so accurately. And there's a bit of he does land it properly. There's footing power in there with Lomachenko. It's not concussive power, but there's enough there, and he keeps landing it. And like I say, if Maxi Hughes can buzz Kambosos like he did in the 5th round, what can Lomachenko do to him?
So prediction then?
Yeah, so I like I say, after a couple of rounds, it might be fairly even, but that'll be because Lomachenko wants it to be that, and he's just having a look. And then, to be honest, I expect him to take over. That left, he'll just in and out of range, foot on the outside, show us glimpses of vintage Lomachenko.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a wide points decision, but I wouldn't be surprised if it just gets to a point like he's done in the past, where it's just so repetitive. It's just constant pressure, because he does that really well, Lomachenko. When he steps forward and you think he's out of range, but he's actually really pressuring his opponent, and he just overwhelms Kambosos. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a late stoppage. Kambosos is fairly tough, and considering Lomachenko's age and a bit of ring rust, I'll probably say it's going to be a wide points decision.
Yeah, that's a safe bet if you ask me. But you never know. Like I said, depending on sort of a bit of ring rust, maybe a late Loma stoppage, but we'll see.
Kambosos will go for it. He's got to.
Yeah, he's got to go for it. Yeah, simple as that.
Maybe work the body. Really.
Yeah, simple as that. Always ask a few ending questions to all my interviews. Obviously, recently in the news, we've had the announcement of the 5 versus 5. How excited are you for that, Tom? What fight are you looking forward to the most if you had to single one fight out of them 5?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great card, and obviously what's happening in Saudi with the fights, it's brilliant for the fans. We're starting to get some really good matches up there. They do need to start making sure that there's not so many big gaps in between them, and that they go on so late.
Yes. Yeah, wait half an hour between each fight. Yeah,
as boxing fans, we've got to moan about something, haven't we? So
yeah, true.
But no, it's a great event. If I had to pick one, I'm going to be naughty and I'm going to say 2.
Go on then.
There's Shiraz versus Williams. I'm intrigued by that because I'm not convinced yet how good both of them are yet. So I'm intrigued to see.
Both the test for both of them, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just getting that gauge. I mean, I'm a big fan of Shiraz, but, I can't unsee that Bradley Skeet fight. And that wasn't that long ago. And
no. And a lot of people said he should have lost that, shouldn't he, really? So what the punch?
Yeah, really? There's question marks for Shiraz. Don't get me wrong, he has improved since then. But I think there's caveats to his wins as well. When you think of that, he's not yet fought like a slick mover. And like I say, if he was struggling with Bradley Skeet, who was effectively a puffed up welterweight fighting at super welter, what's he going to do when he fights at real top level? His win against Liam Williams, people going crazy about it, and obviously it does look good on the record. Getting rid of Liam Williams early, but
how much does Williams have left in that fight? He
actually retired a few months before. He put on social media, and then he got offered this fight. I was like, "Oh, go on then." And like we saw with Eubank, that his punch resistance has completely gone, and that was clear there. His win on the Usyk undercard against the Ukrainian guy he was supposed to be a good fighter, and I think he was ranked fairly highly. That was supposed to be a bit of test, but you saw the size difference of him. He looked made for Shiraz.
Yeah. Sure.
So I'm intrigued. Then you can see Frank's backing him a lot because he's giving in the captain's thing.
Captaincy, true. Yeah.
It's like fantasy football or something. But
But what's your second fight then? What was your second fight?
Yeah. When he got announced, Hrgović versus Dubois.
Dubois, yeah, okay.
I was a little bit surprised at how everyone was saying, "Oh, Hrgović is going to do a job on him." I was a bit like, "Well, I'd probably make him a favourite," but I know he's another guy who seems to really struggle with southpaws, but I have not been impressed with Filip Hrgović for a long time.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are still on the fence with him, aren't they? Really? So,
well, I'm definitely one of them guys. I mean, like whenever he fights a left-hander, he just looks absolutely shocking. And he's one of those guys who, when he was coming up fighting, obviously the journeymen and the guys, he was just knocking about. He looked like the next version of Vasiliy Klitschko, fudding shots, working him up down, bullying him.
But if he gets past this, surely people will be taking him seriously. Then I'm guessing.
So. Yeah, this would be a proper win. But like I said, I wouldn't be sleeping on Dubois, to be honest. I think
that Miller win,
that Miller win. I think that'll do him a lot of psychological good because it was a proper fight. I mean, I backed Dubois beforehand to stop him, and he did. Obviously, went late, but he had to come through a little bit of adversity.
Yeah,
and I think people forget how young. Yeah, I think people forget how young Dubois is and his career. He's effectively, he was a very good amateur up on GB, and then his career, he fought loads of guys he was expected, and then got chucked in with Joe Joyce, and then he got chucked in with Usyk to an extent. He's not had those middle range fights.
Yeah,
which Miller was.
A bit more experience behind him. Yeah,
and he won. So. I'm really intrigued to see how that fight plays out. I know there was talk about sparring recently, and Hrgović apparently battered him, blah, blah, blah. But once again, I think we forget because he's been about, because he turned pro so young. Dubois is a baby.
Yeah.
In the heavyweight division, he's a baby. And, considering how old he is, he's very good. And, I would not be surprised. It's going to be interesting to see how that fight plays out. And I think it might be a case of who lands first.
Yeah.
Hrgović not got concussive power, but he does wear you down. So if it becomes that kind of fight, Daniel Dubois, as we have seen, might start feeling a bit sorry for himself. But if Dubois can land early like Zhang did,
you don't know,
finish the job. Yeah. So I might be supporting Dubois. Well, I will be supporting Dubois, but I might be picking him as well. But I'm just surprised by how many people are picking Hrgović.
Yeah, that's fair enough. The disappointment we did have this week was obviously Beterbiev injured. So the Bivol fight's postponed. Quick reaction on that?
Yeah, obviously massive disappointing. I suppose it makes it a little bit better, the fact that this was on the 5 versus 5. So we've still got a great night of boxing.
You've got a good card, I was going to say,
Yeah, I did see, I was just looking at it. I think, I don't know if it's been fully confirmed yet, but I think Bivol's actually going to fight on that card still.
Yeah, I think his name's still down, but obviously opponent yet to be confirmed. But so,
boxing scene is suggesting that a fella called Malik Zinad.
Right, okay.
He's a Libyan light heavyweight, ranked number 9 in box rate. His last win, he won an IBF Eliminator. It was a good win, to be fair. Just looking at his record, he can bang a bit by the looks, but
he's probably limited.
I've watched him, but so it looks like Bivol's going to be staying on.
That's good. Yeah, because obviously he's still wanting to fight. He's had a training camp up till the fight, hasn't he? Really. So, but what do you make of Beterbiev and another injury? I think Beterbiev, he's 39 now as well. So you're thinking he's getting on a bit as well, picking up injuries?
Yeah, he had his issues going into the Callum Smith fight, didn't he, with his jaw, which sounded quite serious. He's had a few injuries, and like I say, he's so old. Like he's 39. He's had a not a long professional career, but a long boxing career.
Boxing career, yeah.
I don't think this, if we do actually get the fight, I don't think this does him any favors as well. Like a torn meniscus.
Yeah.
Looks like he's going to be out of training for 6 to 8 weeks. He's then going to have to do a camp.
Yeah.
39, that's not ideal, is it?
No. No.
So yeah.
Because my opinion beforehand, I was, big Beterbiev fan. I thought, oh yeah, he's gonna win. But I just cast a little doubt in my mind now with all these little niggles and injuries he seems to pick up at 39. So yeah, that's sort of, I've not fully made my mind up on it. Let's see what happens when it gets rescheduled, I guess. So, but it sort of cast a little bit of a doubt in my mind anyway.
Well, even without the injuries, it's a tough fight. It's a good clash of styles, and if someone said they think Bivol or Batur, I can't really argue against them.
Yeah,
you can make good points for both men, and that's why we like it, don't we? It's an undisputed clash, two really evenly matched fighters, and we don't really know what's going to happen. And
no,
it's brilliant. That's what we want.
Yeah, that's what we want. Unification. Talking about, going on to AJ now. Rumored he's fighting in September. If you had to choose anyone, who would you like to see him fight in September, Tom?
Well, I'd like to see how the 5 versus 5 goes because, from what we hear, it looks like his opponent is probably going to be one of the winners on that bill. We've been teased of AJ versus Wilder for a long time. That fight looked gone. We thought we had it. It looks gone.
Yeah.
I think Zhang will beat Wilder. I think he'll get on him early, and I think he's another guy that struggles with southpaws. I think Zhang, like I say, Zhang's really dangerous early on. I don't think he's going to let Wilder off.
So you're basically saying we're not going to see AJ versus Wilder next then?
After watching Parker versus Wilder, it takes a brave man to. We're going to have to see a lot of changes from Wilder to, for him to get back in the mix. And I don't think Zhang's the right opponent for him, which takes me to it's either Zhang, but to be honest, I'd rather see him fight the winner of Hrgović versus Dubois.
Yeah.
And based on what, like I say, I'd like either of those fights. I'd make AJ a strong favourite against either of them, especially Hrgović. But at the same time, I'd love a little domestic dust-up if Dubois can beat AJ can beat Hrgović. That's a great little fight, AJ versus Dubois.
Well, they're saying that could potentially be for the vacant IBF because obviously once the unification happens, the IBF would be the first one what goes. So,
Just shows you how much money that Hrgović must be getting paid because he's effectively risking his mandatory fight. Wow, he must be getting a good sum of money to put that at risk because you don't see people do that, especially in the heavyweight division.
Not for
that number one spot in his weight.
Yeah, I was going to say, not to put it aside, I'm sure it comes to the point that a world title means more than the money, doesn't it? So, like you said, he must be getting paid a fair bit. To be honest with you, I think all the Saudi guys are getting paid okay, and they are, I'm guessing, anyway. So, but no, that's great, Tom. That's pretty much it for this week's show. Appreciate you coming on, Tom, for the show. Appreciate your time and your views on the fight. Obviously, everyone, if you can, get behind the channel the best you can with subscriptions, likes, and views. And thanks again, Tom, and enjoy the fights.
Cheers, Steve. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Thank you.
Steve Talks.